Michael of Rhodes. We don't really know, but we assume he was from Rhodes. And he first appears in 1401 in southern Italy, signing on as an oarsman to a Venetian ship that pulled up there. Venetian ships didn't usually pull up there, so this seems to have been a fortuitous circumstance. And in those days, galley rowers were freemen who signed on as wages. The idea of galley slaves comes in once later.
The manuscript had a very interesting journey. Can you tell us a little bit about how you eventually managed to get your hands on it?
Well, the manuscript was first sold at Sotheby's in London in 1966, and it was described at that time. At that time, that was the first time it was actually known by the world of scholarship. But it was bought by a private collector, and it disappeared. So scholars had that description, and that was it. And then it became, it went on sale again in the year 2000, I think, and the Dibner Institute for the History of Science and Technology had a wonderful rare book library collected by Byrne Dibner called the Byrne Library, and they bid on the manuscript, but it was purchased by a private collector who would outbid the Byrne Library. And however, he gave the Dibner Institute permission to study it, and that's how the whole project started.
We should probably mention the early history of the manuscript, though, because we know that it was written by Michael somewhere around 1435, 1436, and we know that Juan de Vasto had it 30 years later. We know that Ramuzio had it sometime, around 1520, and then it disappears. So completely disappears until it turns up, we now know it was in the collection of Professor of Economics at Cherubim, Federico Matera. Left his collection in 1945, but in other words, until it surfaced in 1966,
Well,
it was a kind of long lost manuscript.
We don't know when it left his collection. That's very important. Not in 1940. His collection went to the Vatican Library in 1945, but the Michael of Rhodes manuscript wasn't in that bequest, and so it probably left his library earlier, but we don't know where it was.
You have a lot of different people contributing on the project. Can you tell us how each different, other than yourselves, you have a lot of people working on this?
Okay, well, first we should sort of introduce our own contributions.
Definitely.
David is a historian of naval architecture, and so he sort of covered that area, which is most people the most interesting part of the book. He also was the techie, set up an interactive website, and worked on the public website. Google Michael of Rhodes, our public website, which is aimed at undergraduate students and the general public. And then Pam Long is a historian of science and technology, and her primary responsibility was for the studies by our team of scholars. And then I was chiefly responsible for editing the actual text and providing the English translation of the Venetian text. We also had Franco Rossi from the Venetian State Archives, who did the actual transcription, studied the paleography, codigraphy, that is the handwriting of the way the book was put together. Who else did we have?
Well, we had Raffaella Franchi, is a historian of mathematics who teaches at the University of Siena, and she has really studied every extant Abacus, they're called Abacus manuscripts, commercial mathematical manuscripts, and so she was the person that came in to study the 200 folios. Is that right? 200 pages. 200 pages of mathematical treatise in the book. And shall I go on? Well, I'll do a few more, then you can do the rest. Then Dieter Blume is an art historian who is an expert on astrological images and has written numerous things on that. And he studied the images in the Michael of Rhodes, and he concluded that Michael drew them himself. And there are many as well as other things. And then Piero Falcetta, who is the head of the cartographical part of the Marciana Library in Venice, studied the portolans, and he's the person that figured out that the portolan information in the portolans of Michael of Rhodes was, in many cases, incorrect.
So then our last two contributors were Faith Wallace from McGill University. She did material relating to chronology, and that was really important because she really changed our view of what it was and why it was there and what its role was for Michael. And finally, Marl Mondioli, who was a private scholar from Italy, who's extremely knowledgeable about Venetian shipbuilding and investments.
And later on, re-volume book. What can we look forward to in the book?
Shall I start with volume one?
Certainly.
Okay.
Because volume one is the facsimile, and you can see that it's beautifully done. The press did a fantastic job reproducing the individual pages, cut in color. We got the whole thing, beautiful illustrations, and so that, for those people who want to work with the original, take a look at the text. It's a fantastic edition.
And then the edition volume has on facing pages the original Venetian text and English translation with a significant amount of footnotes to help guide people through it. There's a lot of obscure and technical information in it, and of course you can have this open next to the facsimile. You can have that in all three ways.
And then the third volume is a volume of studies, and I must say this is a rather technical in some ways manuscript, and would really be hard to understand it without the studies. And it begins with an introduction, an introductory essay by me. It contains a biography of Michael Rhodes by Allen, which is the longest biography of any not elite person from the early 15th century, except for maybe a few others. And then there are articles by each of our scholars that we mentioned, and there's an article on shipbuilding by David McGee, as well as by Mara Mondial. And there's an